Good afternoon, everyone. I am Bernadine Pond. So, after discussing the definitions of printmaking and as well the printmaking techniques such as relief painting, intaglio, lithograph, and screen painting, let's talk about the notable printmakers around the world who have contributed to the development of printmaking. So, here are the list of notable printmakers around the world. Martin Schongler, Albert Dürer, Rembrandt, Francisco Goya, Honoré Daumier, Hiroshige, and Hokusai. So let's talk about Martin Schongler. He was born about 1445 in Colmar, Alsace. He died on February 2, 1491. His name often described as Martin Beautiful, Beautiful Martin, or Pretty Martin. He was the Alsatian engraver, painter, and also a printmaker. He was the finest German engraver before Albert Dürer. The main work of Schongler's life was the production of a large number of beautiful engravings, which were largely sold not only in Germany but also in Italy and even England and Spain. His subjects are mainly religious. He has the record of 116 engravings are generally recognized as by his hand, and since several are only known from a single impression, there were probably others that are now lost. Schongler was the fourth or third son of Caspar Schongler, and his father was a famous or a goldsmith of Augsburg. His styles were Gothic, Renaissance, and religious. Here are the examples of the artworks of Martin Schongler. Next is Albert Dürer. He was born on May 21, 1471 in Imperial Free City of Nuremberg. He died on April 6, 1528. He was a painter, a printmaker, and also an engraver. His prints deal with religion, history, mythology, and folklore. He is also one of the first great portrait engraver. Dürer was one of the supreme draftsmen of all time and an artist of enormous imagination and sensibility. As a technician, he raised the art of engraving to the height that it never reached again. As an experimenter, he produced, in addition to his engravings and woodcuts, etching, and dry points, his best works are metal engravings, which he cut himself. His woodcuts are perfect reproduction of his superb drawings. Dürer began making art at an early age. After working at his father's workshop for several years, 15-year-old Dürer found an apprenticeship with a local artist named Michael Wohlschnatt, who specialized in woodcut illustrations for books and other publications. During this time, Dürer polished his drawing skills and familiarized himself with dry point and woodcut techniques. By copying paintings from a great masters as woodcuts, Dürer became more aware of it. He is famous for his woodcuts. He produced highly detailed drawings either on a woodblock itself or on a paper and then glued them onto the surface of the block. Instead of carving along the grain like in the woodcuts, engraving are done at the end of the block of wood. These allow Dürer to produce more complex works which is filled with numerous lines and hatch lines or hatch marks. Albert Dürer, he is truly a prolific artist in many fields. The picture that you can see right now is the example or the artworks of Albert Dürer. A self-portrait, pen and ink drawing, and also a woodcut. His artwork is quite impressive. He did also engraving and also etching. Next is Rembrandt. He was born on July 15, 1606 in Leiden, Netherlands. He died on October 4, 1669 in Amsterdam. His original name is Rembrandt Harmenzoon van Rijn. He was a Dutch Baroque painter and a printmaker. Rembrandt made a significant contributions to printmaking, producing nearly 300 prints throughout his career, and is considered as a great master of medium. Again, Rembrandt was the great master of medium. Rembrandt created some 300 etchings and dry points from about 1626 to 1625. His career as a printmaker ran parallel to his career as a painter. He rarely treated the same themes in both media and only reproduced his paintings in prints. Rembrandt's printmaking is how he experimented with ink and paper to produce noticeable differences from one plate pressing to another. A revolutionary technique that ultimately made a lasting impact on the art of etching. He focuses on biblical, historical, mythological, and allegorical history pieces, all of which he painted etchings, sketched in a pen and ink or chalk, known for their rich color and masterful use of light and shadow. Here are the two etching artwork of Rembrandt: self-portrait in a cup, open mouth, and a self-portrait in a fur hat. Next is Francisco Goya. He was born on March 30, 1746 in Frontera, Spain. He died on April 16, 1828 in Bordeaux, France. His original name is Francisco José de Goya y Los Fuentes. He was the Spanish artist whose painting, drawings, and engravings reflected contemporary historical upheavals. His art abounds in satires on religion and conservatism and yet forever depiction of the barbarity of the Inquisition. Goya is considered one of the finest technicians with regards to printmaking, and his work in this medium fit into several groundbreaking series of etching. His enormous and varied production of paintings, drawings, and engravings relating to nearly aspect of contemporary life reflects the period of political and social upheavals in which he lived. Though there's a little evidence for the legends of Goya's rebellious characters and violent action, he was undoubtedly a revolutionary artist. Here are some of the artworks of Francisco Goya. You can see in the evidence that it shows or that it reflects the period of political and social upheavals. Here are also the artwork of Francisco Goya and the executions. His artworks is relating to nearly every aspect of contemporary life during his period. Next is Honoré Daumier. He was born on February 20 or 26, 1808 in Marseille, France. He died on February 11, 1879 in Valmondua. His original name is Honoré Victorine Daumier. He was a prolific French lithographer, caricaturist, painter, sculptor, especially renowned for his cartoons and drawings satirizing 19th century French politics and society. And ang makita po daw nato nga traits kay Daumier kay violent temperament, a generous yet fanciful turn of mind. O dali po daw siya maka-arouse o capacity for pity. Then, he therefore accepted commissions for lithographs, portraits at a very early age. Then, his life devoted entirely to his work. He was a lithographer, cartoonist, and a sculptor. He was an impressionist painter whose art was reflected in lithographs he continued to produce. Constant work was not a burden to him. While producing 4,000 lithographs and 4,000 illustrative drawings, he sang sentimental songs whose foolishness made him laugh and unconcerned with his work. So, samtang gabuhat daw si Daumier sa iyahang mga trabaho, kay mukanta daw siya sa iyahang mga satirical songs or sentimental song, nga unconcerned na siya sa iyang kadaghan siyang mga work. Then in 1830, Damiens began his satirical work. His boss lamponing certain contemporary types and his many lithographs. And as a cartoonist, Damiens enjoyed a wide reputation, although as a painter he remained unknown. His fame was not based any more than it is today on a critical appreciation, but rather on the smiling or the laughing admiration of those who read the satirical journals. Here are some of the artworks of Honoré Daumier. He was famous for his many lithographs and also for his satirical journal. Here are also one of the lithograph artwork of Honoré Daumier. Next is Hokusai. He was born on October 1760 at Edo, now known as Tokyo, Japan. He died on May 10, 1849. His original name is Katsushika Hokusai. He was a Japanese master artist and a printmaker of ukiyo-e. Hokusai's work encompassed a wide range with a particular emphasis on landscape views and historical scenes in which figures were often of a secondary interest. Hokusai is one of the famous Japanese master of woodcut. He produced an unending stream of masterpieces, about 35,000 drawings and prints, a staggering figure even considering his long life. His interests encompass history and mythology, popular custom, animal life, and as well as landscape. His output was so enormous and the quality of his work was so high that it is difficult to single out individual pieces. So, ang iyahang artwork, iyahang mga landscape prints, kay lisod sundon, kay tungod kay, ang quality siyang work is so high. These are the artwork of Hokusai, the underweave of Kanagawa. It is a color woodcut. Lastly is Hiroshi. He was born on 1797, Edo, now known as Tokyo, Japan. He died on October 12, 1858, Edo. His original name is Ando Takotaro. He was the master of the color wood block print. His genius for landscape composition was the first recognized in the West by the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists. The young Hiroshige was fond of sketching. It has been estimated that Hiroshige created more than 5,000 prints and that as many as 10,000 copies were made from his wood blocks. Both Hokusai and Hiroshige's early contemporary was the innovator of pure landscape print. Hiroshige, who followed him, was a less striking artistic personality, but frequently achieved equivalent masterpieces in his own calm manner. These pictures revealed a beauty that seemed somehow tangible and intimate. Both Hokusai and Hiroshige liked the work of Impressionists in the Western art history. Their prints are spontaneous, both in style and in atmosphere, capturing the essence of the fleeting moments of nature. And that picture is one of the beautiful artwork of Hiroshige, the morning mists. As I mentioned a while ago, ukiyo-e or ukiyo-e, often translated as the pictures of the floating world. This refers to Japanese paintings and woodblock prints that originally depicted the city's pleasure districts during Edo period. Ukiyo-e, one of the most important genres of art during their time. The ukiyo-e style also has about it something of both native and foreign realism. Common subjects include famous courtesans and prostitutes, kabuki actors, and well-known scenes from kabuki plays and erotica. So, that stopped my report. Thank you for listening and God bless.